Trauma, like fire, burns differently depending on what it touches. While some walk through devastation and emerge outwardly unscathed, others crumble under similar conditions. Traditionally, we attribute these differences to psychological resilience, upbringing, or external support systems. But trauma is not merely an equation of stimulus and response. It is filtered through a complex lens of inner narratives, unconscious expectations, and invisible personal mythologies. Here are 5 less conventional but compelling reasons why 2 individuals might be affected differently by the same traumatic event. The shattered storyline. Hypothesis. Every person walks through life carrying a quiet internal story, a sense of how things should unfold. For one person, life is unpredictable, and danger is familiar. For another, life is supposed to reward goodness with safety. When trauma contradicts the story someone deeply believes, for instance, if a healer fails to save a life, or a protector is unable to protect, the event does more than hurt. It shatters their worldview. The result isn't just pain, but an existential disorientation. The trauma is not only what happened, but what it meant in the context of who they believed they were. The guilt gateway trauma often carries a hidden passenger: guilt. And guilt does not operate rationally. A person might feel responsible not because they objectively were, but because their mind frames the event through moral lenses. I should have known. I froze when I should have acted. Why did I survive when they didn't? One individual may view their survival as tragic but necessary, while another sees it as undeserved. In that internal courtroom, guilt is the judge, jury, and sentence, turning trauma into a slow-burn punishment that haunts them long after the event. Emotional backlog. Theory. Some people aren't just reacting to this trauma, they're reacting to the 10 unprocessed ones before it. Think of emotions like a dam. For some, past stress and grief have been ignored, repressed, or minimized. Then, when a new traumatic event hits, the dam breaks. Another person, who has already processed past pain, perhaps even gone through therapy or developed healthy coping mechanisms, may absorb the blow more evenly. Trauma, then, is not just about the size of the impact, but how full the container already was. So, identity fusion versus identity separation. Some people fuse their identity with their roles: the doctor who must save lives, the soldier who must protect, the parent who must always be strong. When trauma involves a failure or loss within that role, it doesn't just injure the heart, it fractures the self. Others keep more separation between what they do and who they are. For them, a traumatic failure is devastating, but it doesn't rewrite their core identity. In this view, trauma strikes deeper when it tears at the fabric of the person's perceived essence. The solitude amplifier. While loneliness is often acknowledged as a risk factor, its amplifying effect is underestimated. In solitude, there is no mirror to show us that we are still human, still lovable, still whole. Pain loops unchecked. But it's not just the absence of people. It's the absence of the right kind of witness. Some traumas demand to be shared, to be held by someone who says, "I believe you. I see how much this hurt." Without that, the mind may internalize the pain as evidence that something is wrong with them, not just with what happened. Conclusion. Trauma does not follow a script. It interacts with the shape of a person's soul, their history, their expectations, and their silent beliefs. Understanding why one person breaks and another bends is not just about science. It's about story, meaning, and the silent architecture of the self. If we want to truly help people heal, we must go beyond diagnosis and look into the unseen structures that hold, or fail to hold, their pain.